Welcome to EdTech AM with me, Abid Patel.
And me, Megan Alfano. Every episode, we rip up the script and take a fun look at tech, education, life, and everything in between. So jump on in and join us.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
How is everyone doing? How are you doing, Megan?
I'm good. Happy October. How are you?
Is it October already? Where is
It's like mid-October. The
where are
countdown
we?
is on for Halloween in this house. It's many costumes are sort of in the lineup that could be chosen. We've got a little Hulk, a little Iron Man, a little I have a daughter, so it's like dark dragon ballerina. I think it's like a black tutu situation. Yeah. So there's some ones we know and some ones we don't know. How about you?
It's been an interesting few months in the world of the ABI and the D. In the sense, first time in 21 years not in school. That's been interesting.
Wild.
I've been out and about on the road. We had some really exciting Canva events this week. We had the Canva Learning Labs, which came to an end. They did a UK tour of Canva Learning Labs, where they went to lots and lots of different cities, and loads of educators went to a space and learned about all of the wonderful things in Canva. And then we tailed off with the Canva Community Labs, which is kicking off the Canva World Tour, which is a world tour of events, both virtual and in person, that are happening around the world, all in the run-up for Canva's big Droptober announcements on the 30th of October. So if you've been using Canva in the run-up to the 30th of October, you may have noticed it's either just not working on that day when you're ready to deliver a PD on how wonderful Canva is and you can't even log into Canva.
Yes.
Or you're showcasing this wonderful feature and you know that when I click in that position over there, there's a button that should be there and that button is no longer there. It's kind of like October and April are the worst months to use Canva because they're doing all of the funky stuff behind the scenes, ready for the new features.
We love a Droptober over here. We love it. But this happened to me last year. I was doing PD on October 23rd. And I remember having a conversation with you because I was doing, we were talking about AI image generations. We were talking about DreamLab. And then all of a sudden, the name changed. Or did it change to DreamLab? I can't remember. But there was a name change. And then I had to go in that morning and change like all of my things because nobody was going to be able to find it. And I'm like, what is happening? But we're excited. Last Droptober.
Yeah.
Last Droptober.
Yeah, really looking forward to the big announcements on the 30th, and hopefully some really exciting things coming. And maybe yours truly may make it onto the actual keynote, which I'm excited about.
That's exciting.
If that happens. I don't know yet, but yes, 30th of October. If you go to canva.com, I think in the /world-tour or something like that, then sign up for those. Sign up for any local events, and of course to watch the keynote because we all love Canva here, looking forward to that. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Been on the road, trying to connect with schools and school leaders, and exciting times.
It's our exciting times. And on the topic of not being in school, I too am not in school, not on purpose though, because we have ourselves a little education fist fight going on in Alberta, Canada, which I'd like to think has made the news at other places, but let's be honest, it absolutely has not, because it's Canada. So everyone's like, where is that exactly? It's like big and it's like United States sort of adjacent.
Yeah, not quite the 51st state yet, though, is
Not
it?
quite the 50. No, no, we've had many conversations with the Orange Man, and we've let him know that that's not going to happen. So anyway, the teachers here in Alberta. So Alberta is notably, because of oil and gas industries, one of the quote unquote richer provinces in Canada. Okay. So a lot of money, a lot of big industry, things like that. But we actually have the least funding per student in all of the provinces in Canada, which has, since the sort of uptake of our new government in the past couple of years, decreased like a waterfall. So just, and now it's starting to blow up. So we've got these giant class sizes of 30 plus. I mean, my daughter's in second grade. She's got 26 kids in her class, which is like fine. But really, in a grade 2 class, we're still learning so much of how, like it's too big. In my school, we've got classes of 36 for certain subject areas in junior high. So it's completely out of control. And I think the worst part about it is that there's no tracking and there's no cap. And also teachers haven't gotten a raise in a really, 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 really long time, like decade. So we're having those fights. And I think the most disappointing part is not that we're having the fight. The disappointing part is that it feels like a game of, like, do you know the game Chicken? Abid?
I think so, yeah.
Like where two cars are just driving, or people for that matter, where you're
Yeah.
just like driving and the first one to move loses, that's what it feels like. And it's really disheartening because it has to do with children and the future, working Albertans in the province. So it feels like a really silly thing to be fighting about when the idea is that our goal is to make education better. So there's been a lot of slander in the media against teachers and things like that. And it's just really disheartening that we're still not seeing teachers as people who are out there for the kids. So I think that's been the hardest part. So it's been 2 weeks. It's felt like 37 years, but we have not been working and we have not also been receiving any pay. So there's no strike pay or anything. We're just off work, sitting. A lot of us have our own children at home. So like that adds an extra layer of difficulty. So in the Alfano house, we've been at the Lego store a lot. So we like Lego of all shapes and sizes. I'm actually a Duplo Lego person.
Really?
I am. You know what? So we've had Duplo forever. We have the I don't know if you're familiar about this train. So it's like a battery powered train. I'm actually in my new role as tech lead. I want to get it for the kindergarten kids for stations because it has these little code blocks. And they're just these little things that you put in the train tracks. So the kids build the train tracks and then it'll like turn on the lights or make a sound or make it stop and go backwards. And I'm like, oh, my kids have had this train since they were 2. And of course it's Lego. So the quality is fantastic. It's still living. It's been dropped like off the second floor of our house. How many times? Right. So it's like, yeah, it's like this train is crashing everywhere, but it's so cool. So we've started with Duplo, but I love that you can build big with Duplo. So we've got 2 bins of it now because we're like, let's build a city. And with little Lego, that would take you forever. But with big Lego, it doesn't take that long. But to the point, so in our house, I'm like the weak link when it comes to the children. So if they're like, hey, can I play with this? I'll be really careful. Most of the time my answer is yes. And unfortunately, when it comes to the Lego that we have as decoration around our house, they're like, can I play with the up house? Can I play with the ATST? And I'm like, will you be careful? And they say yes. And I give it to the 3-year-old. And every time he's playing with it and then it busts apart and he goes, oh no, I'm so sorry. And we can't fix it because the pieces are everywhere. So it just gets like shoved into the giant Lego bin. So and it's always my husband's Lego. It's always Dan's Lego. So we were at the Lego. He's so nice about it. He was like, oh, it's okay. So this has happened like at least 6 times where we've destroyed his Lego. So an ATST, a stormtrooper, like cool stuff has gotten destroyed. And I've tried to find all the pieces to have him rebuild it, and I can't do it. Have you ever bought bulk pieces of Lego off the Lego store before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you can like pick and choose, right?
Mhm.
The tiny little pieces. So I did that, but the shipping was going to be like 4 times as much as the $1.60 of Lego that I needed. So we went to the Lego store. I want to show you what you're a DC fan, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is what we got him to repay him for all of the Lego.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
1960s Batmobile.
Yes.
That is so awesome.
Oh my gosh, we were walking by the Star Wars Lego, and then I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It was the last one, and I was like, that's so cool.
I mean, at this point, we need to say, like, holy Lego Batmobile.
Yeah. Right? So he's going to build it, and we're going to, like, put it in a glass case locked up, and he's going to not give me the key. So that's what we've been up to.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That reminds me of just a random TikTok that I saw the other day. And it was a CCTV video of like a living room of a guy who's clearly a Lego fanatic, and he had all of his like the Lego Star Wars and the Lego superheroes and all those built models on display on shelves, and his 2 toddlers decided to climb up, and then one of them decided to lean on the shelf, and you can imagine what happened next, right?
Yeah,
and
I can.
the comments were just like, what kind of shelves were you using? Because like the toddler didn't lean, he literally just touched it, and the whole thing came crashing down. And it was just like, that cringe of like, that was hours and hours and hours worth of building, right?
Right.
And everything came down like quite literally a ton of bricks.
Yes. Well, and there's a difference between building with like creative blocks, Lego style, and then building a set. Because like I have the up house, and thankfully my son is like just not quite tall enough to reach it because we've got those shelves kind of coming up the stairs. But pretty soon he's going to be. And I have rebuilt that thing at least 3 times. And it's not fun to rebuild it.
Yeah.
It's fun to build it the first time.
Yes.
And then the second time you're like, I can't be bothered. So there's definitely a difference there.
Fun and games with Lego. But let's hope your strike ends soon, because that stuff costs a lot of money.
So far not getting paid in October. So great. Cool. Yay.
Well, shout out to yourself and all of the Albertan teachers. Thanks. and teachers all around the world, really, because
we're all fighting that fight, aren't we?
Everyone is feeling that pain with lack of funding in education, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better, and the light at the end of the tunnel it's a very long tunnel. Let's just put it that way. And
it's a very long tunnel, and it just doesn't have to be. I think that's my biggest issue, is that it just doesn't have to be, because it's very clear what needs to happen.
I've never been a teacher, but I've worked in schools for 21 years. And I've seen what teachers and educators do, the passion that they put into their role. It's sometimes, if you look at it, if you take the empathy piece out of the role of a teacher, you really have to sit there and question why you're doing so much unpaid work.
Yeah, it's true. I get asked that all the time. Like, or even, should we, it looks like we're going to be legislated back to work. So in a couple weeks, we'll be forced to go back, or our strike will be deemed illegal. And then from there, it depends. I don't know all of the ins and outs of sort of what happens, but I do remember at one point, there was an option of something called work to rule, where, and again, I'm not an expert, but I understand that like that would mean that teachers would work only contract hours. which is my nightmare
And
because I like what I do and I like to plan cool things and it takes time, but I'm okay with it. And I don't agree that everybody should have to do that. I think we all need to do what works for us in our work-life balance. But for me, it's more of a hobby than anything. So yeah, I'm kind of
and I
like,
think it is for an awful lot of teachers around the world, like
yeah,
the fact that everyone I've ever come across does it for the passion.
yeah. If
And
it brings you joy, then
if
why
they're not
not?
doing it for the passion, they don't last very long in the profession, because
Yeah.
you ultimately there is an awful lot of give in the profession, and a lot of it ultimately comes down to the children, right? It
Yeah.
ultimately comes down to the fact that, these human beings care for you, again, taking the empathy piece out of it. You're the salesperson and they're the customer, right?
Yeah.
You go into any store, that you might get a smile during the point of that transaction, but there's no care and empathy once you've left, right?
Yeah.
You've exchanged the money, job done, right? That's not how teaching works, right?
No.
There's a care and an empathy piece around your every moment in the role, right? And the
Yeah.
fact that you're looking after little humans going through the most vulnerable part of their lives, right? the
Absolutely.
and preparing them for the big, wide, scary world that's out there.
Yeah, it's just the crazy thing is that, when we're talking about people in power who are negotiating and making these decisions, we've all been in school. We've all experienced the hardships, had the bad experiences, but also had the really good experiences. And many of these people have children in education or have had children in education. And so it touches everybody at some point in time. And so whether you had a bad experience in school or not, I can almost bet that you had a good experience as well at some point in time,
Oh,
right?
100%.
It's never all bad, and we've all, it's never black or white or anything like that. We've all had those moments, because it is so personal. I think it's unfair to just see it as a black or white issue, and that teachers don't do this or they don't do this or they do this or whatever, because we're all so different. And yeah, many of us do want to work outside of class hours, but maybe there's something that's rarely what the argument is about. Do we deserve to be compensated for some of that? Yeah. Do we deserve to have more planning time and smaller groups so that we can do a better job? Absolutely. Right. So,
But yeah,
yeah.
it applies. I've seen the phrase that I'm thinking of that comes to my mind is like, if you if you treat your employees with care and respect and give them their dues, they will go the extra mile for you. You
Yeah.
won't have to push them, right? If you don't give them that respect and listen to their concerns, they will do the bare minimum that they need to do, right? And you'll immediately start to notice the gaps. Like, just like you said, if
Yeah.
teachers around the world were to work their contracted hours, right,
Yeah.
and nothing but their contracted hours, you'd see very, very quickly, and I'm saying this as a non-teacher,
Yeah.
right? You'd see very, very quickly that the education system would fall apart, right,
Yes.
in its current state.
And I think that my biggest problem with that is that if teachers were to do that, the first ones who would feel it the most are the kids. And they have no part of this. And it's like a messy divorce. Like they're completely out of control. They have no control of what happens, but they are going to feel those negative effects of teachers working
And
only contract hours.
we talk about digital equity and all of that stuff. This is becoming a point where it's about just general equity, right? The
Yeah.
fact that guess what, the child in the other school or the child in that state is getting a much better deal than the child in this state, because our government hasn't chosen to fund it properly or whatever. And it's just, why should that be the case, right? It's all
Right.
about, like, ultimately, these are young. This is our future that we're developing here, right? We're trying to help develop, right? We have to give them the best possible start to their lives to make them ready for the future. I used to say that an awful lot, like, we want to teach digital skills to ready our children for rich digital futures. Well, now we're not even talking about digital. We're just talking about life in general.
Yeah. Like how to talk to each other. We don't even have, like we're begging for Chromebooks, for heaven's sakes. Like that's the least of our worries.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make sure that everybody can like feel safe at school.
Well, let's keep fighting the good fight. Indeed. And good luck to everyone out there.
Yes.
And then I hope things do go in the correct direction. Let's just put it that way.
Eventually,
indeed.
Eventually, one way.
Indeed.
Well, we have some tech news to argue about. Should we throw like a disclaimer to our like, I don't even want to call them heavy AI users, because I would consider us to be heavy AI users. Use it every day, all the time. Not all the time. I use it every day.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about it because we've got some things.
Yeah.
We've got some qualms.
It's been an interesting time in the world of AI. I mean, when is it not an interesting time in the world of AI? I feel like every episode, right? We've got something to talk about when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
And just when you think it's kind of meandering into the right direction, suddenly there's an about turn in the complete opposite one. And this week, Mr. Altman, CEO, founder, co-founder, whatever he is, of OpenAI, decided to make some announcements about the future direction of ChatGPT, and in particular GPT-5. So I think we were talking in a previous episode about the launch of GPT-5 and how several users around the world were really upset at how they lost their friend in GPT-4o. And I mean that quite literally, as in people were making friends and having relationships with ChatGPT. And initially I thought this is a minority of people and things like that. And Mr. Altman made some statements about, about ChatGPT and how they needed to be careful with regards to mental health issues. And he said that, they're going to be putting out a new version of ChatGPT that allows people to have a personality that behaves more like what people liked about 4o, right? For it to respond in a very human-like way, to act like a friend and stuff. And just when you thought, okay, that's starting to, get onto the route of like, slightly worrying about that use case scenario.
Slightly worrying is a really nice way to put it.
Yep. He also announced in December they'll be rolling out age gating, which I'm sure a lot of our users have probably come across the Online Safety Act that happened in the UK, and now you need to verify your age on almost every platform you use, that you're not being delivered adult orientated content and things like that. And he said ChatGPT's plans will be to treat adults like adults, and in principle we will allow for even more things such as erotica in ChatGPT.
Meanwhile, in Alberta, we have ourselves a book ban.
Yeah.
But you go on ChatGPT. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I mean, it's interesting. Even before Sam Altman made these announcements, there's been an awful lot of discussion that's been happening around ChatGPT usage in schools, right?
Yes.
In the sense of like ChatGPT at the moment is a very consumer product. I know they have a limited ChatGPT for education. I think is available in the States and stuff, but it's not necessarily available all around the world. If you're using ChatGPT in schools, you are most likely using the consumer version of ChatGPT. which means any content you put in, any data you feed into ChatGPT is used to train its models, and they use that data, right? That immediately raises a whole load of data protection, data privacy concerns. I met with a head of digital a few weeks ago who was telling me, yes, I know we're using ChatGPT. Our users are using ChatGPT in school, and I know we shouldn't be using ChatGPT, and I know some of them are putting student information into ChatGPT, and I know we need to stop it, but we're not quite there yet.
We're
And
not quite.
in my mind, I was like, imagine taking the ChatGPT and data bit out of that and replacing it with, I know we're physically abusing children, and I know we shouldn't be, but we're not quite ready. You would not accept that in any
No,
form whatsoever in a school. You'd be taken to the cleaners for it. There'd be police involved, reputational damage, all of that stuff.
unplug
But
it.
it's something I was talking on one of my groups on WhatsApp the other day was data privacy, data protection, and data breach is a very invisible victim, or feels like a very invisible, victimless, and we're not going to
Yeah,
worry about it too much issue,
until
right?
something big happens.
Until something big happens, right?
Yes.
And something big did happen, which we will get onto
Yeah.
with regards to cyber attack and data. But I think um, it's so important for us to understand now that, yeah, frankly put, I've been going as far as to say we need to ban ChatGPT in schools completely. For the fact of the matter is, like, even by accident, accidentally putting something into ChatGPT, um, it's not data ready for our schools, right? And
No.
I'm not saying we ban AI completely, absolutely
No,
not,
no,
right?
no.
There are platforms out there. Yeah, if most schools around the world now are using either Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, if
Mhm.
you're using the education version of those two platforms in your schools, you've got two very safe options. You've got Gemini for education, and you've got, Copilot for
Yeah.
education, right? And yes, absolutely. With all LLMs, your mileage will vary, absolutely, but it is safe to use those platforms in your organizational environment,
Yeah.
right? And I think there has to be, we really have to go back to basics with EdTech sometimes in school, and understanding that, we're all guilty of it, right? How many of us, and I was just thinking
Yeah.
about this earlier, and how many of us have read the terms and conditions for the very
Yes.
services that we're using, right? Almost none of us, right? And we've happily scrolled to the bottom, hit accept,
Click
and
accept.
moved on because we want to get on with things.
Yeah.
But this is where it's starting to get more and more poignant. We talked about in a previous episode with companies like CapCut, for example. In their terms and conditions, they turned around and said, right, if you choose to use CapCut, all of the content you create belongs to us, and we have, or it belongs to you, but we have unreserved, royalty-free worldwide rights to use it and do whatever we want with it, right?
Yeah.
Adobe also did the same a few months ago.
Mhm.
And this stuff really, really matters, right? And especially from an organizational perspective, not just from a personal perspective, but from
Oh,
an organizational perspective, when you're dealing with the data of the school community, people who are not you, people who you're responsible for,
the
but also
children.
their parents and guardians as well, and their contacts, their next of kins. How much data do we carry in schools? And I think sometimes we just have to sit in front of our staff and really drill down that realization that
Yeah.
we are holding a gold mine of wealth in data and information that can be really, really powerful to
Yeah.
criminals and companies. And we're not necessarily, we are in some cases breaking the law by putting this data in places we're not supposed to.
It's so true. And even in the context of schools, I mean, you're using CapCut for something innocent like your end of the year school video. Well, guess what? You've put the photos and video clips of the children in your class who may or may not have permissions, but teachers think that they're using it, in the context of their classroom. They're not sharing it out to the school community. But once like if you were to read the terms and conditions, you would understand that CapCut now has the freedom to use that data, that video, those identities. So you've done the same thing versus
Yeah,
like
and
emailing it
and
out, right?
I was just talking. We're having this. I was having a discussion with a fellow colleague, and one of the things he said was, it's getting to the point where we can't. We're getting to the point almost where we can't put pictures of our students online or in these platforms anymore, regardless of whether we have their permission or not, because
Yes.
we've asked them to sign a permission for school use based on
Mhm.
what we know. But like you just said, if we don't know about the terms and condition changes, like for example with CapCut, then we've accepted those terms by using the platform, but the parents haven't.
Exactly.
They've agreed to what was one particular set of guidance.
Yeah.
You might be able to put a clause in there to say this might change, but let's go back to the ethical point there, right?
Mhm.
Is that really ethical to say that? I don't think it is. And you know, is it safe to be doing that now? It raises a whole load of questions and concerns, and it really raises going back to the ethical piece of where the direction of big tech is, and
Yeah.
what are they trying to achieve here. Like, I get, the adult entertainment industry is worth an awful lot of money,
I
and
will.
there is an absolute subset of users that caters towards, right? We're in education. We're not going anywhere near that stuff.
Right.
But companies like OpenAI, and there will be other AI companies out there who are suddenly blurring those lines, right? And
Yes.
going back to his statement, about the age gating and that kind of stuff, right? Even if we're banning it in schools, the fact of the matter is students have access to this stuff at home, right?
Yeah.
What is stopping them? How they haven't clearly identified in any way whatsoever how they're going to police what
They're
age
not.
of user
They're
is
not. I mean,
using.
it's no different than you need to be however old to sign up for Instagram. You just scroll through your year. Like, but does it matter to them? No, it doesn't. Because if it did matter, then there would be other more difficult matters or measures in place, right? It doesn't matter. But what matters is that they've done their due diligence in saying you need to be this old to use it in our terms and conditions. And we're going to age gate, meaning that we're going to ask you how old you are. And then your choices are your choices, but we've done our part. And so that's the scary part. And going back to purpose, I think like with Sam Altman, so Sam Altman could have done something very different in this situation when he acknowledged the fact that ChatGPT was being used as a friend and that they've noticed, that people were upset because they've lost their friend in ChatGPT. Like he could have used his platform to state, like, I'm trying to think of the words to say it, like something about mental wellness in that, hey, this is not something you should be using ChatGPT for, right? Or come up with a solution that's not, you know what, okay, we'll bring back those features so that you can have your digital friend. We all know that that's not healthy. Have they consulted, mental wellness, mental health professionals when they made these decisions? What are the committees in place? Who are the experts? Because it's not him. This one guy is not an expert on all of these things. What is the purpose of this tool? Is it helpful? Absolutely, for certain things. But what are their goals as a
See,
company?
what's interesting is when he posted that tweet, he obviously saw people. The tweet blew up,
Yeah.
and he was concerned that people picked up only on the erotica point, right?
Right.
And through the rest of the tweet that and I won't read it all out right now, but he almost started to double down on the reasons for why they should do this. But the last paragraph is what really hit, was where he said, but we are not elected the moral police of the world in the same way that society differentiates in other appropriate boundaries, such as R-rated movies, for example. We want to do a similar thing here, right? Now, it's easy to say that
Such a cop
you're not
out.
you're not the moral police of the world. But one of my friends who commented on my LinkedIn post said, you're not the moral police of the world, absolutely, but you are someone who is in charge of an unprecedented technology that has the
Yes.
potential to be used for huge benefit or huge harm, right?
Man.
And I'll shout out Emma Darcy, a
Yeah.
friend of mine from Luton, who made that comment. But that is so poignant. That at the end of the day,
Yes.
yes, whilst you're not you need to be extremely responsible for a tool that you've brought out in the world. And let's face it, a lot of the AI arms race that is going on right now was because of the launch of
Absolutely.
ChatGPT, right? That's
Yes.
what kind of, took OpenAI from zero to hero practically overnight.
Yeah. And that's great. But don't bring out this giant thing and then backtrack and say, but I'm not the role model you think I am.
Yeah. And
Like, put on your big boy pants, man. With great power comes great responsibility.
with big tech in general, like, I feel like there's an awful lot of there's an awful lot of play with regards to, they celebrate some of their successes when it comes to the environment, for example, right? And they talk about how, moving away from on-premise systems into the cloud, and we've done XYZ for our cloud footprint, and and we become carbon neutral, and all of that stuff. And they scream about those successes, but it's almost like the world is turning a blind eye to the environmental impact of
Oh, I know.
AI. Just a few months, Sam Altman was saying something about, how much energy it was using for people saying please and thank
Yes.
you to ChatGPT, right? And it's okay, we can laugh about it, but the fact of the matter is you're still having a humongous impact on the environment. And suddenly, where's the worry about that? We talk about cars and we talk about all of this stuff, right? And
Yeah.
it's just it's in the UK, or it's almost like it's evil to drive your car now. You must take public transport, which costs like 10 times as more money sometimes.
Right.
And yet,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They put it on the consumer.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but then using AI, well, no, we want you to do that because we need your data, and so we
Yeah.
need to make more money, and so we'll maybe in the future we'll use that money to fix the environment when it's way past the ability to be fixed. But right now we need it, and so that's why it's okay.
Yeah. It's just, and again, we're not saying that we don't use it. We're saying, though, how much trust are you willing to put in this system when the transparency has not been there historically or at all, ever? So we need to be critical thinkers and critical users, because clearly these big tech companies are not going to tell us everything that is going on behind the scenes, because their motives are very clear here, from my perspective. But if they have, some great positive motives, I think that they should say that. They should tell
Yeah,
people
and
what's the purpose.
ultimately it's like you say, right? You and I are probably very heavy users of AI, right? And there are absolute positives for it. And
Mhm.
we are innovators. We want to see great innovation in the world of
Yeah,
tech, but not at the cost of, you know our privacy, right? And not at the
exactly.
cost of our safety,
Yeah,
right? Not at the cost, especially of children's safety. And it's a huge, minefield out there that not just educators, all organizations are going to have to wade through. But by
yeah,
all means, I think it's something schools in particular are going to have to really, really be careful on how they navigate, because
yeah,
we've seen how school life is. At the end of the day, we are all immensely stressed, and we're just trying to get through our day, right? And if
yeah.
there's a tool that we can find that will help us get through that day, we absolutely want to use it.
It's
But I
lovely.
think it is totally about stopping at that point and just taking a moment, say, is this GDPR compliant? Is it copper compliant?
Yes.
FERPA? Is it meeting all of the what am I giving away by using this? Because people have been saying it since the dawn of tech, right? And since the dawn of anything that is free, right? When
Yeah.
something is free, you are the product, right?
Yes.
And ultimately it's and I keep coming back to back when YouTube first started saying, hey, do you want us to track your usage and give you personalized ads? And I was like, no, you know what, I don't want you to be tracking my usage, and so hey, I'm going to decline. And before I had a YouTube premium subscription, I used to get ads for Intel Inside and Grammarly and you know,
Really.
all sorts of IT and tech stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
And suddenly I told YouTube not to track my usage or what I was watching, and so suddenly I'm getting, you know, washing up liquid and makeup with Maybelline and L'Oreal, and because I'm worth it, right?
Yeah, you
And
are.
suddenly I was starting to miss being tracked, right? I was missing my ads,
Seriously.
and I
Interesting.
wanted to give them my data, right? Because I was like, hey, I don't want to see these things that are no worth to me. I want
Yeah.
to see the stuff that I'm interested in.
And
And
isn't that so funny? Because you and I grew up in the age of the commercials are on the television and you
yeah,
wait until they're over.
exactly that.
So isn't that so funny how quickly our brains just don't want that slight inconvenience of this doesn't apply to me? I find that terrifying and fascinating at the same time. I really do, because I feel it too.
Yeah, it's the algorithms, right?
Yeah.
They're designed to pull you in ways like, because no one wants to see ads, right? But then
No, not at all.
even when we're forced to see ads, we want to see the ads that we want to see,
Yeah.
right? And the way the algorithms pulls you in, and there's but again, coming back to you know, teachers have to do a whole load of work for their regular jobs.
Mhm.
How are schools in general supposed to navigate through all of these things? We're talking about it on a podcast, absolutely, because
Yeah.
we're interested in this thing, but we're interested in the world of tech, and this is what we want to be here talking about. But not everyone's got that time and space
No.
and mind for it.
Yeah,
How
the
are these kids
cognitive load
learning?
is huge. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Yeah.
You know, and a lot of what we've just said just crosses over into other stuff that has been happening and impacting children, absolutely, right?
Mhm.
We talk about what's happening with AI and, you know, just our data and things like that. October, believe it or not, is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and the amount of cyber attacks that have happened in the last few months and this month alone is just absolutely scary.
Yeah.
It is terrifying, um, to the point where there have been some very recent major attacks here in the UK. Marks and Spencer and the Co-op, who are two big department store chains,
Right.
Harrods, which is the most famous department store in London, TfL, Transport for London,
Okay.
have all suffered major cyber attacks in the last 18 months.
Yikes.
Marks and Spencer's cyber attack has cost them several millions of pounds. I'm almost like hundreds of millions of pounds were
Wow.
in lost sales. It was like a couple of months before they were able to open up their online store again, because they lost. And again, that attack was simply put, I think it was something like they had a third party IT managed service, and someone called up to say, I can't access my admin account. Can you please reset the password? And the third party reset the password. And that someone who called up was the hacker.
Yeah.
And through that, they completely disabled their systems. Right. The TFL attack was crazy as well. Most recently, and coming back to education,
Mhm.
there is a chain of nurseries here in the UK called Kiddo, and
Yes.
they had a cyber attack where the
Unbelievable.
hackers basically extorted the nursery by posting stolen images and data about the children onto the dark web. Right?
That is
Mhm.
like, as a mother of 2 small children,
Yeah.
nothing
Mm,
makes me want this is not appropriate for the onlines, but nothing
yeah.
makes me wanna, like, purchase a flamethrower more.
So they started they started posting profiles of the children to the website, adding 10
nauseous.
children, adding another 10 children days later, and vowing to continue until the nursery paid the ransom. What made it even more scarier is they even contacted the parents directly with threatening phone calls whilst trying to get the ransom paid, right? And it was getting to a point where, this was a really scary attack, right?
Yeah.
Where young children were being exposed onto the dark web. And we've all heard stories about what happens on the dark web and
Yeah.
the things that have been going on there.
Yeah.
It got to the point where the criminals were being targeted by the criminal world to say, you've crossed a moral line to the point where you don't attack children.
Like,
And
they didn't know that?
and believe it or not, they announced and they messaged the BBC cyber correspondent Joe Tidy, who's been doing some great work in the world of cybersecurity and reporting cybercrime, and told him that we have removed the pictures because our leadership were afraid that we were getting too much negative press, right? This is criminals.
Why are we like this? Have we always been like this? Are we just like this now because we don't get outside enough? Like, where is Liam Neeson when you need him?
Now, this is where it gets really, really scary.
Okay.
So I've just talked about, those big organizations, Marks and Spencer, Co-op, TFL, and now Kiddo Nurseries. And they've just announced that all of those attacks were carried out by 17 and 18-year-old teenagers. Right? The nursery chain, 2 teenagers were arrested over this cyber attack. And this, at the end of the day, crime is crime, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Just think about what we were doing age 17 and 18, right? The world has
nursery
changed,
schools,
right? The world has changed so drastically now, right? Where teenagers are now having humongous impact on the world, simply through a bit of fun or a bit of mischief there, right?
Well, and I'm sorry, but like when our prefrontal cortexes are not developed enough to make smart decisions, I would, as absolutely nauseous as I am about this, an interesting conversation would be with these 17 or 18-year-olds. Did they think this through? What did they think was going to happen? They probably thought, I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but like as a 17, 18-year-old who knows 17, 18-year-olds, isn't the answer a lot of the times, I just wanted to see what would happen? I didn't think this was going to happen because they don't have developed brains. So like the fact that they were actually able to do this raises enough red flags.
And the piece that people don't see there is these are 17 or 18-year-old children. They have parents.
They have parents.
They have relatives. They have close family members.
They have the rest of their lives.
Right? All of these people are going to be feeling the impact of those activities, right? Yes. Most of those parents probably not even have the foggiest idea what their children have been up to, right?
No.
Which is probably a whole other conversation about
that exists
and
everywhere.
stuff. But you can't control everything, right?
No.
But then let's bring it back to those organizations, in this case kiddo nurseries and schools and educational establishments in general. And I think one really important phrase that has come out of this incident in particular is cybersecurity is safeguarding, right? We are, one of the strongest aspects of schools I have seen is safeguarding, right? There is no gray area when it comes to safeguarding. It is very black and white. There are strict rules as to what you do. And for 21 years, every single safeguarding training I've been to, you get told safeguarding is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah.
We are at the same place now, not just now, we've been in the same place for a long time, but with the realization it is now, we are in the same place where cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, you can't
Because
be like, well, I don't know about that. You just can't
and
anymore.
especially more so in schools, because if you do not secure your systems, if you do not understand how you're using your systems in the correct and safe ways, then you are putting your children at risk. You're putting
Yeah,
your whole school community at risk. But let's
absolutely.
focus on the children because that's what everyone cares about,
Yeah,
right? You're putting them at risk.
yeah,
Those children who are impacted by the kiddo nursery, right? The hackers put their photos up on the dark web. They can say that they deleted the photos. What's to say that other people on the dark web didn't copy them,
of
right?
course.
Right. Once
It's done.
we say it on online safety training, right? Once you put something on the web, it's there. It's
It's there.
public. There's no taking it back. You can take it down, but it will be in some archive somewhere. Someone will have copied it off, downloaded it,
Yep,
whatever. Right. Once it's out there, it's out there.
you bet.
And I've always said when it comes to cybersecurity, prevention is absolutely 100% better than cure. Right? To the point where sometimes you can't cure a cyber attack. You have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And and we're only talking about the impact it has on the children. We're talking about the impact that, the financial impact it has and all of that. The mental health impact it'll have on the people who have to fix the stuff, right? The leaders who have to go out in front of the press and make the announcements, right? You have
Right.
someone at the front desk is going to have to call every single parent or email every single parent and say your child's data may or your data may have been exposed as part of this, and an impact that is going to live with people for a
Oh,
very long time, sometimes for the
absolutely.
rest of their lives.
Absolutely, because nobody wants this. Like, but by not doing anything or by thinking that you did things but not really being sure if you've safeguarded enough.
And that brings me to a very poignant point in time. Today we're recording this podcast on the 18th of October, but on the 14th of October, Microsoft announced that Windows 10 was going end of life. And so as of the 14th of October, Windows 10 is no longer supported, right? And you must upgrade to Windows 11. But you can't upgrade to Windows 11 if your computers are too old. You need to refresh those computers. That comes back to the point of education is being so poorly funded that schools aren't able to refresh their computers. And so there are hundreds and thousands of organizations out there, not just schools, but hundreds of thousands of organizations out there that are still running Windows 10.
Yeah.
And those organizations are now at humongous risk of cyber attack. And again, this is it, right? Where a lot of those organizations don't even know they're at risk of cyber attack.
Yeah, because it's just like some random person was put in charge of this job. Sometimes it's a teacher. I know in some of the smaller schools I've been in, it's the teacher or the vice principal who's in charge of all of the tech related things and like just not trained for that necessarily, right? Nor is there
And
funding for training.
no, exactly. And I've always had, without trying to be too facetious, I've always had this issue with regards to IT where, we kind of throw people in front of a computer and expect them to understand it because one, they've either lived through the digital age or they've
Yeah.
been born into the digital age. Well, why do we not put the same process of thinking into cars, right? We've all been brought up into an age where we're surrounded by vehicles.
Yeah.
Why don't we just let people get behind a wheel and see what happens?
Well, that
Because
would be dangerous.
we know what's going to happen, right? We
We
know
do.
that that's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
We're almost reaching a point now where that similar kind of danger is happening in front of our screens, right? That similar danger is there, or it's probably been there for a very long time. But again, people haven't been aware of it, right? I always come back to the analogy whenever I'm presenting on cybersecurity, like why you need to take your cybersecurity into account, why you need to think about it, why you need to be testing for it. I say, I've worked in schools for 21 years. Every half term, we do a fire drill. Why? I've never seen a fire in school. Why do we bother? because we understand the impact that a fire could have on an organization. And I
Yes.
think it's really, really important in the same way, right? I say now, if you want to replicate a tiny element of a cyber attack, go and pull your internet cable out in your school, and let's wait and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Because that is ultimately, you're going to see disaster, like shock and panic and craziness. That is what will happen on a wider scale in a cyber attack.
Yes. Yeah, you make a really good point.
Scary times indeed. Absolutely.
And you know what? I think because it is scary and overwhelming, and unless you are trained in this area, you don't necessarily know the steps to take to help. People get too overwhelmed and they just think about something else. Right? Which is, again, how our brains have been wired over the past decade or so, to do that sort of thing. If it's too much, then we switch off and we do something else. And I think that we are going to have to not do that a lot more and just do some learning.
It's getting to the point where we really have to get serious about training.
Yeah.
When it comes, especially in the world of tech, and sometimes going to the basics. And it will feel like we are playing catch up, because that is ultimately what happens with tech, right? We're tech evangelists, right? We're the ones who are trying to be on the other side of that curve, that is, the innovator side of it. And yet we're struggling to keep up with all of the things. Just look at ISTE last year and all of the announcements of what Gemini can now do in Google Classroom. I've barely seen any of them, right? I've been too busy to keep up with them, right?
I mean, I use Google Classroom on like a daily basis. And even I have used it very limitedly. Because again, there's just, our days are filled. There's not a lot of time. And I can only imagine how teachers feel who are just maybe even still getting used to Google Classroom, to then say, well, what's this now? Like, that would be very overwhelming. And so I don't know what the answer is there, but I think it definitely falls on those organizations that have tech leads and things like that to really try to find small, easy ways to support teachers through this, because it's a lot and we don't want anybody to shut down, and we don't want them to shy away and put on their blinders. We want them to work through it in a way that is manageable and hopefully exciting, because it can be really exciting, but also safe.
And my takeaway for leaders, if there are any leaders who are listening to this, like, don't get me wrong, I know your struggles you're going through with regards to funding and stuff like that. But I've been to so many schools where there's never any funding for IT. There's never any funding for refreshes, because it's too much and it's too scary. When you have a cyber attack, the checkbooks tend to open and they're usually blank. And it's a case of, just tell me what number I need to write so you can make it better, right? And we want to be at a place where we don't have to be at that point where we're desperately trying to find a way out. We need to be we need to be in a place where we can be as resilient as possible, and we need to try and keep up with the pace of change. And it's not easy, right? Change management has never been easy, right? Never, in any aspect. You want to change the color of the backing paper on the wall, right? That usually tends to fire up a debate, right? Now we're talking about moving from Microsoft Word to Google Docs, right? That we've been through that. We've been through that change. We've seen how challenging that can be, right? Again, we're constantly having to keep going through that narrative, right? And if we don't, we're at a point now where we're not just going to get left behind. We're going to be putting the people who are in our care at risk. And I think that's why it needs to be really, really important that we keep up with these things.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that was dark.
I know. I didn't expect us to go down that.
Hope you had a snack through that, everybody. Everyone's sipping their coffee like, okay.
We are very lovable and joyous people here on EdTech AM.
Check your passwords, friends.
Anything fun coming? Hey, have you seen what's happening in the world of AI, Megan? Some really wonderful things.
It's wonderful and shiny and fabulous. Yes.
Hey, I got a new MacBook.
You do have a new MacBook. I'm excited for you and your new MacBook. Okay, what color is it? Is it silver?
It is space black.
Space black. Nice.
Which,
Is that okay? I think we have the same color. Is that the one that's like blackish bluish?
This is probably more of a gunmetal gray.
Oh, okay. Because mine is that like black navy blue color.
So you've got the MacBook Air, right?
Yes.
I bought the MacBook Pro. So
right.
I think
okay.
the MacBook Air came in a space gray, and it also came in a midnight. The MacBook
Midnight.
Pro comes in a silver and a space gray, I think.
Okay.
I bought the M4 model back in August. The base M4 model with I bought the nano texture display, which is non-reflective, and I absolutely love it.
Nice.
And because it was a custom build, because I went for a few extra things, and I have to share, Megan. I haven't got it with me right now.
Okay.
But I got a very special item in the box because I paid £150 to get the special nano texture display.
Yes.
But because I paid that £150 extra, Apple decided to give me a very special gift in the form of the Apple polishing cloth, which is compatible.
Coveted item.
Which is compatible with the new MacBook, or with my new MacBook. It's also compatible with my new iPhone 17 Pro Max as well.
You're so lucky that it's compatible with both, and that you didn't have to buy like an upgraded version of that cloth.
Yeah. Well, on the subject of upgraded version, Apple very kindly then, as soon as I got and unboxed my brand new shiny MacBook, announced the new MacBook Pro with the M5 model.
As they do.
Yes, indeed. I didn't have the temptation to return my old one.
Really?
Primarily because I wasn't allowed to, because it's a custom build. So therefore, no. But also, it's a very minimal upgrade, but an interesting upgrade which is probably more prominent to me and my fellow UK and EU people.
Okay.
To say the new MacBook Pro does not come with a charger in the box. So they've been doing that now for a while with the iPhone, where the iPhone does not come with a charger in the box anymore. You get the cable, but you don't get the actual brick.
Okay.
But now the MacBook Pro has also, in the EU, in the rest of the world, it will still come with a brick in the box, but in the EU and the UK, to promote lack of e-wastage, you will no longer get a charging brick in the box.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you charge it?
You have many options. You can at the point of buying pay the extra £79 to get the brick. Or other variants of chargers are available.
So you get the USB-C end?
You get the USB-C to MagSafe cable.
Yes. Okay. But you don't have the brick, so then you can plug it into anything. Now, okay, so here's my question, because I know very little about this kind of stuff. Is the charging quality the same if I plug it into my like little extension cord that has the USB-C outlet versus the MacBook brick?
So the MacBook Pro comes with two options, either a 70-watt charger or a 96-watt charger.
Okay.
And the higher the speed, the higher the wattage means the faster it will charge, sort of thing.
Totally.
If you already have a USB-C brick at home, you have to look at the wattage on the brick.
Right.
If it's a small brick, it tends to be between 5 and 30 watts or so. If you've bought, like, for example, the iPhone brick, I think that's like 20 watts or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Companies like Anker and Ugreen that you can buy from Amazon tend to do like 65 watt and 70 watt and even 100-watt chargers for a lot cheaper than what Apple do. But yeah, you have to be wary, because if you plug it into a lower wattage brick, it will charge a lot slower, but you have to be very wary about the way lithium ion works and that kind of thing, where you can't charge it too slowly, because then that affects the battery, but you can't also use a very, very powerful watch.
Yeah.
That will then affect the battery.
Right.
Lithium ion is probably, if all this talk about innovation, I would love to see more innovation in lithium ion technology.
Well, that was my question. I'm like, okay, so say you have your iPhone brick. You're not going to be using your iPhone brick to charge your MacBook.
No. So you will have to buy a dedicated
No.
charger. Yeah. I guess they're doing their hands kind of been forced by the EU,
Okay.
in the sense of, I get the e-wastage, and which is a huge thing, and
Yeah.
there are plus points there, but then it's just adding another thing to the, and I guess I've seen it, where I went through, the iPhone 3GS and the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 6 and all of that, and those all came with cables, and they came with different cables. I've still got some of those cables in my basement, but they are e-wastage now.
Cable.
Right, they are e-wastage now, and yeah, I just moved from an iPhone 14 to an iPhone 17. The iPhone 14 charged with Lightning, and now the 17 charges with USB-C, and so
Yeah.
the Lightning cable is now not useful to me anymore. Yes, we've still got older devices in the house that use it, but at some point in time that will become e-wastage as well. And
Yes.
so that's another thing for big tech, isn't it? Where
I've got a whole
you've got
bucket
USB-C. Right.
Hold on, I'm reversed right there. That's my cable bucket.
Oh, I mean, everyone who knows me knows how many conferences I've been to in my life, and I haven't got buckets. I have got
You have crates, don't you?
storage. I have storage crates full of 30-pin chargers, micro USB, mini USB, what was the other one? USB-A. Firewire. Remember Firewire?
No.
Firewire. Oh, I have. If there was a charger in existence, I had.
You've got it.
And I'm hoping USB-C becomes the norm, right? And we don't see a USB-D, E, F,
no, just
HIJK, whatever. Right?
Just keep it.
Yeah, but USB-C as well is an absolute mess in the technology. Not every USB-C cable is the same. You've got
I know.
USB-C that does data. You've got USB-C that does audio. You've got USB-C that does video. You've got USB-C that does all three. You've got Thunderbolt that has the same connection as USB-C, but you've got Thunderbolt 4, now you've got Thunderbolt 5. And it's just
problem in school.
USB-C has become a minefield as well.
Yes, it is. It's like, what is the purpose of this thing? And is it the same purpose that you need for your thing? And like, oh my gosh, everybody in their Chromebooks at school, they're like, which charger do you have? Which one is this? Is this cable that I can then hook up? We're like Jimmy rigging things just to get a charge.
Well, I mean, it just in my, I can't. You've got USB 2, then you had USB 3, you had USB 3.1. Then you had USB 3.2. You've got USB 3.2A, I think, which is the current standard. They're talking about USB 4. But then alongside that, you've got Thunderbolt. You had Thunderbolt, then you had Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4. Now with the new MacBook, new Mac Mini, you got Thunderbolt 5.
Yeah, I just need training on that.
Yeah.
I need some training on that. Because if I plug it in and if it doesn't fit, then okay. Guess it's not that one is kind of where my training stopped.
Well, no, that's where it's now getting complicated, where with USB-C, it'll all fit.
It fits, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't do what you want it to do.
Doesn't do it. Yeah. So that's the other thing. Let's look for feedback. Is it charging?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's so much to know. There's so much to know, but I'm so excited for you and your outdated MacBook Pro that you have.
Oh, thank you, Megan. That makes me feel so much better.
If you had an Abid in your life, he would have told you to wait for the update release, like my Abid told me when I bought my MacBook, and then I decided that it didn't matter, and I got my M3, and then they released M4, and now the same thing happened to you. So I'm sorry.
Well, what I actually did do my research, and all of the rumors said that the new MacBook Pro was coming out in 2026. Wow, and this is where it does get weird, is they only released a new baseline MacBook Pro, which is pretty much exactly the same as my MacBook Pro, but just a different chip. So it's a pretty minor upgrade. But they only released the baseline with the M5. They haven't released the M5 Pro or the M5 Max.
They will.
And then which will be coming, which the rumors are now saying early 2026. But then they're also talking about a full redesign of the MacBook Pro in late 2026, early 2027, which may even have a touchscreen. And oh my days, I have
we weren't doing touchscreens.
I have so many thoughts.
Steve Jobs wasn't doing touchscreens.
Exactly. And I have so many thoughts about touchscreen on a Mac and to cut the long story short, I do not want to be touching my Mac because all I'm ever doing is using my wonderful Apple polishing cloth to clean my monitor, right?
I'm so happy that you use it.
Right.
I would just like to say that I didn't get one.
Yeah, because you didn't have the option to go for the very fancy screen, but you could always buy one for $19, or I think no, it's actually more for Canadian.
It's probably more once you add that Canadian extra in there.
Yes, indeed.
Man, well, if you end up with two, maybe you can just send me one. That would be a really good birthday present. But
and the good thing is, Apple give it over-the-air updates regularly, so whenever a new product comes out, it magically gets updated.
Yes,
in its capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to make sure that our Apple polishing cloths are compatible with our tech. That's the real thing that we need to focus on. That's the takeaway of this episode.
In the interest of fairness, Megan, other polishing cloths are available.
I don't want other polishing cloths. I want the Apple polishing cloth in the really nice. Did it come in a box?
No, because this was a freebie. It came in some plastic.
No, I want it to come in a box.
Yeah, no, the prestige of opening.
With the envelope opening.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want.
This is the best polishing cloth we've ever made.
Ever. Yeah. Well, that was fun.
Indeed. It was.
And it's October. The next time we do this will be November.
Indeed. Where has 2025 disappeared to?
I know. Yeah. It's crazy. We're going to be entering 2026. We're getting old.
Yeah, definitely.
Crazy. Maybe by November, I'll be back to work. So we'll have some things to talk about with that.
Yeah, maybe by November, I'll be in work. Exciting.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, indeed.
I look forward to seeing what's happening with AI in November.
Yeah.
Who knows? Nobody.
Let's hope it's a quiet November.
Maybe it'll be a quiet November so that people will continue to listen to this podcast instead of being like, shh, nope.
Indeed. Well, please do listen to our previous positive episodes on our website, edtecham.org. I'll get it right this time. And we will hopefully see you again very, very soon.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you next time.